Just a couple.
Thanks, Shane. Really appreciate it. Yeah, as Shane had mentioned, Solupay has really enjoyed a very uh, long partnership to date with NewGen, almost going back to when we started with NetSuite about 4 years ago, actually going on 5 years now. So just a little bit about Solupay at a high level, if you haven't heard about us in the past, but we're really very entrenched in the NetSuite ecosystem, and we'll tell you a little bit about how we got there. But high level stuff, Solupay has been around since 2004, processing billions of dollars annually. We're one of the fastest growing credit card processors, service providers in the United States today. We're very, very focused in integrated payments and have been since the inception of Solupay. So when you look at payments, everything is really getting to the point where everything's integrated as opposed to non-integrated. So Solupay has always been focused on integrated point of sale, ERP, shopping cart. So you name it, we've integrated it before when it comes to payments. When we started with NetSuite, we actually had a few customers that were experiencing some issues when it came from a payment standpoint that were existing customers of Solupay, but utilizing NetSuite. And what we found was we asked them what those issues were, and it could be simple stuff, not to throw some of our competitors on the bus, but simple things like if you went to run a sales order, for instance, and the cash sale amount was greater than the sales order amount on one of the gateways with the legacy API, you wouldn't be able to check out. You literally would have to charge the customer twice, and or in one of the cases with our existing client using the CyberSource gateway, they would go ahead and just eat the charge if it was under $10. So, so one of the things we've done is look at all the different areas within NetSuite, and that's really driven us to, when we got in here, we just said, listen, there's really no budget, if you will, when it came to development with NetSuite, because we just saw such a huge opportunity. Clearly, Oracle did a few years back by buying and acquiring NetSuite. But in 2017, we became the 2017 Innovator of the Year with NetSuite. And we did this by just listening to our clients, our partners like NewGen, trying to figure out, okay, what do people want? And so we like to throw these into like 4 different buckets, like Shane was mentioning a little bit earlier. Minimizing costs, reducing manual processes, tackling or eliminating fraud, eliminating chargebacks as much as possible, as well as driving incremental sales, which is always elusive at the end of the day. So when it came to NetSuite, we focus on these basics, and just to give you a little, a quick tutorial on where we sit within NetSuite and how we support NetSuite from a payments perspective, we can talk about the product lines that they have today. So they have Suite Commerce In-Store or SCIS, NetSuite ERP, Site Builder, Suite Commerce Advanced, and Suite Commerce. When you look at the roadmap and what we've done, we were really the first to innovate and get in there and support EMV transactions. And really, we're one of the premier providers of support for SCIS, which is the point of sale solution for NetSuite. But even if you do not purchase, and a lot of folks, maybe just wholesale distribution, may feel like, I don't need a full-blown POS. What they've been doing is asking us, hey, can I accept EMV payments or swipe cards? But again, we recommend you just use our EMV card readers with NetSuite ERP without SCIS. So we went out and built that as well. But beyond just that, it's the way we've tackled alternative payment types, adding like Affirm and enhancing PayPal. For instance, today within NetSuite, there's an inability, if you will, to really handle transactions that are outside of NetSuite. So one of the things we're working towards is, folks that are using like Suite Commerce, obviously integrated with NetSuite, but external to NetSuite, you have a variety of folks coming to the table with external shopping carts. So one of the things we've done too is provide the ability to support external carts in addition to NetSuite. So if you have a legacy shopping cart that you need to authorize outside of NetSuite and then capture as a cash sale inside of NetSuite, Solupay has a ton of experience there, working with Magento, WooCommerce, Oracle Commerce Cloud, so many other Salesforce Demandware. So all these different solutions that are out there, and we have many other shopping carts that we're tied into and integrated to. So if you're not familiar or don't see our name there, don't fret. Typically, we are already supported. It's just that we're not advertised with that particular shopping cart. Let me just say this, though. We obviously would prefer that most folks are integrated, in supporting Suite Commerce. It's just much easier. But one thing that we've done is provide the ability to support tokens, and really we're the first also to support tokens within NetSuite. And what that was enabling everybody to do was to securely transport data, cardholder data, or PAN data, as they call it, primary account number data, into NetSuite securely. And we can do this with either FarApp, Boomi, Del Boomi, Celigo. But even if you had a custom method to do it, or NewGen was porting that data over to for you on your behalf, again, it's all done securely where nobody ever touches cardholder data. Okay. You may even have a situation, and we're seeing this more and more, where you might be doing some subscription billing. And again, today I'm just going to jump all over the map a little bit with all the different MCC codes, because NetSuite does support literally every one of them. So, hopping off the e-com bandwagon there for a second, if you look at migrating existing billing subscriptions, for instance, we see a lot of folks that everything's moving towards a SaaS-based model, recurring billing model. Most folks are like, hey, how do I get my data out of Zora? How do I get my data out of Stripe? How do I get it out of Authorize.net? This seems like a major undertaking. And what we do is make it really as simple as 1, 2, 3. Okay, so if you take a look at, the first step obviously is to request your data from the legacy platform. But there's definitely experience here at Solupay to securely migrate that data from whether it's Stripe or Zora or Authorize.net directly to our gateway. We retokenize it, and then we work jointly with like a NewGen, to import the data right back into NetSuite, so you can run your subscription billing in NetSuite, which really ends up saving a tremendous amount of time, energy, expense. But really, the amount of time you save is astronomical, really. One of the benefits of our solution with NetSuite is our card account updater service, which leverages that tokenization. So once a card's tokenized, what happens if that card expires? What happens if I lose my card or forget it at the restaurant when I leave? And I call my bank, they update, send me a new card number. What's nice about Solupay is we do support card account updater service. So if that card is lost or stolen, that customer of yours that has that card on file that was tokenized in NetSuite, we'll be able to automatically update that probably 70 to 75% of the time. And then we have other mechanisms actually within NetSuite that also help do that. So the benefit of this is really related to, eliminating, customer service expenses, people calling in your customer service line, but most importantly, it's a set it and really forget it approach with reducing service cancellations. At a high level, we do support, again, EMV devices. We have many other devices in addition to the ones listed here. We also support PAX, PAX, as well as point devices in Canada. I think we're the only ones in Canada right now that actually do support EMV with SCIS in Canada. So that's something to think about. And then some of the other things that we were trying to innovate on is going back to e-invoice or invoices and pay now buttons. If you were on QuickBooks, you probably had the ability to email an invoice out, click on the invoice and get paid. So what I'm going to go ahead and show you is Solupay's ability to really leverage that in NetSuite. So run a quick transaction here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So right here, I'm going to create an invoice within NetSuite. Find my customer. So as I'm creating this, the benefits, again, of being able to email invoices directly to customers, are plentiful. Obviously, it's a soft collections tool. So if you have folks that you gave them terms 30, 60, 90 days and they're well past those terms, it's a nice, friendly, easy way to remind them, hey, it's time to send a payment in without agitating a client or customer with a call or an email that doesn't have the ability to even provide them the ability to click on that link and pay it. So this really is something that a lot of our folks, anybody that's actually putting their customers on terms and accepts credit cards or ACH, they love this solution. So all they're going to do here is click Save an Email, and then I will show you as it's saving up here to the top left, I will get an email in my box. So I received my email with the invoice to pay $9.99. Click on the Pay Now button. And then it's super simple. So once we're here, we go in. This is your card holder now. Enter their card information. Typically, it's probably like mine where it's saved right away. And then they submit. So this is an extremely secure way to accept payments on those invoices. And the beauty is this will update NetSuite immediately. So once this payment is approved, so thank you for your payment. I click back into NetSuite. I will refresh. As you notice here, the amount due is $9.99. I will go ahead and refresh in NetSuite, and then voila, they have the amount due as $0. So a lot of these things, again, we've been working very hard on, and we're always looking for new ways and new ideas. We have a similar way to handle multiple invoices. So again, same concept. If I just want to pay a few of the invoices now, in this case, $117.99 or the $49.99, you can do so and pick and choose, or your clients can actually pick and choose which invoices to pay. We also, again, have the ability, leveraging the same technology, the ability to send quotes out of NetSuite. So this is very useful. We had a client that would send quotes out of NetSuite for their international clients, and they wanted us to add 3D Secure, which is basically the ability to block chargebacks, eliminate chargebacks. So they had a lot of fraud. It was a very expensive underwater camera company. Sold underwater cameras for $5,000 on up to $20,000 or more. So they wanted to make sure if they were going to accept a credit card, that actually it would be good and they wouldn't get a chargeback. So we bolted on the technology of both the ability to accept a payment as well as to eliminate chargebacks with 3D Secure. And we'll talk a little bit about 3D Secure in a little bit. We also did this with e-sales orders. So we had another client that really didn't want to have their staff accepting payments over the phone in their call center. So instead, they wanted to basically email sales orders out of NetSuite with a payment button as well. Okay. So again, all these are options available to our folks out there in the marketplace. it's part of our bundle. It's standard in our bundle, actually at the end of the day. So a couple other features that we can jump into. I just want to show you a few things in NetSuite that are kind of cool, jumping around a little bit. The ability to drive incremental revenue. So I talked a little bit about that earlier. So obviously we just showed you how we can collect payments very quickly and easily, whittle down that accounts receivable balance, so your cash flow improves. But, another way to drive your business higher is really, how do we sell more? How do we get larger tickets? And one way you can do this within NetSuite is Synchrony. So Synchrony is a financing tool in NetSuite that we do support that can do this. So if you take a look at Synchrony, and you've probably seen Synchrony if you've ever bought a piece of furniture or, a bedroom set, Synchrony typically is one of the options out there in the marketplace. But what is possible within NetSuite, natively within NetSuite with Solupay's bundle, we have the ability to, again, support Synchrony. So you can have somebody apply for Synchrony credit line within NetSuite, which is nice. Or if they already have an account, you can do an account lookup, a credit increase. So we have a client that sells cabinets, for instance. Those cabinets, they do a ton of volume through Synchrony, and this is beautiful. So when somebody comes in, let's face it, cabinets are typically more expensive, or the ones you want are always more expensive. So the ability to increase those limits within NetSuite is available today. Other aspects, tokenizing right there on the spot is also, available. Again, all these options through Solupay to really make it much, much easier for you to do business and accept transactions in NetSuite. So Affirm is another financing tool, since we're on that subject, within NetSuite. So especially card not present, we're going to be looking to support Bread here soon. But Affirm is a company that was started by Max Lepkin, who was also one of the founders of PayPal. The beauty of Affirm is it's very simple to get a credit line with them, log on their site, and actually obtain a credit line. So what it does is it's a simple financing tool that helps sell larger, higher average ticket items, especially directed towards millennials. So millennials have seen their parents go into significant debt, especially through the 2008 crisis. So they want to know, what am I actually paying at the end of the day in interest? So it really gives them a 3, 6, 12-month, payment schedule that they know they can see. And it's as simple as what you see here. Once they select the item that they want to purchase, they're redirected to the Affirm site via Solupay, and then they have the option to pick a payment method or time frame. And in this case, they're picking 12 months. They know what the interest is. They hit continue and complete that payment in NetSuite. We also talked about PayPal briefly, but Solupay does support the ability to do refunds and voids within NetSuite, both credit cards as well as PayPal. So the old legacy way, which is currently still supported today, those same customers, NetSuite customers, would actually have to log into their PayPal account to deliver refunds and voids to their customer base. As far as cost is concerned, we can jump into the overall cost of processing. At a high level, I love to talk about this and not to put everybody to sleep, but cost is always a huge driver with clients, so I definitely want to address that and help people understand what we did within NetSuite to address that. So optimizing interchange, and most folks do not know what interchange is, so I'll tell you. Interchange is what is the form of compensation. So whenever you use a credit card with any merchant, there's a bank. Whoever issued that credit card gets what is called interchange. So if I used a B of A card with NewGen to pay for their services, and it was a card not present transaction with no rewards attached to it, it was a B of A card, B of A would receive 1.8% plus 10 cents on that transaction. So essentially, on a $100 transaction, B of A is going to receive $1.90. Okay, it's much higher when you're dealing with level 3 cards. I'm sorry, level 3 capable cards like purchasing cards, corporate cards, government cards. So if you do not send data with that transaction or line item detail data, what B of A would charge on that same transaction, if it was a purchasing card, for instance, they would charge 2.95% plus 10 cents on that transaction. So $3.05 on that same transaction. But the beauty is, with our native integration with NetSuite, we send line item detail data, which is essentially all the incremental data that Visa, MasterCard incent merchants to send to qualify at lower levels. So oftentimes, anybody doing any amount of B2B, even if you're B2B and B2C, you still will see savings with Solupay, and really the savings is around 0.5% to 1% on those card types, which adds up extremely fast. Another mechanism in NetSuite, and I'll jump back into NetSuite to show you this, is Visa, for instance, will surcharge you on the age of authorization. So if you do a sales order and then you do a cash sale on the 8 days or later, and I'll jump in here and show you, within the ecosystem, what happens is the Bank of America, the interchange on that is going to go up another 50 or 0.5%. So it adds up, once again, very quickly. So all these little controls that take place, and keep in mind, Visa, MasterCard are constantly lobbied by the card issuing banks, your Wellses, your B of A's, your JP Morgan Chases. They're constantly out there lobbying them to modify interchange twice a year, so October and April. So anytime we see a change where we think it's going to impact them, and what they've been doing lately is not just raising interchange, but also making it more difficult to qualify at lower levels. So again, we're constantly on the lookout to help manage that. So here I'm showing you the processing profile or the back end, but the reason I want to show you this is show you where we support the level 3, sending the extra data elements and extracting them from NetSuite along with those transactions. But also, I talked again about the saving 0.5% on the Visa transactions. So we have it all built in. You can select, okay, if it's older than 7 days, I have a rule here that it automatically goes out, grabs a new authorization, voids the original authorization. So again, that saves you 0.5% on those transactions. So on a $500 sale, that's $2.50. So all these things, again, add up very quickly. We also look for ways to help manage friction, within NetSuite. So let's say you don't know what the final amount's going to be, but you wanted to get the authorization, at the time of the sales order. So let's say you went out and you do have the ability to modify this and say, okay, I'm going to authorize for 20% more. So on a $100 sale, I'll authorize for $120. Let's say for whatever reason, you do not know what the handling cost is going to be or the shipping cost or what have you, you can build in this incremental authorization tolerance percentage, authorize for more, capture for less. But again, going back to the original example that I mentioned, even if you are over, so if it exceeds, if Visa capture amount exceeds auth by even 0%, we'll go out and grab a new authorization. But again, this tolerance can be changed on the fly by somebody that's not a programmer. We do stress, though, that once and if you become a customer or client of Solupay in NewGen, that you call us first before you go in and make these changes, because a lot of these changes, we're experts on interchange. So what we want to do is really work with you closely to ensure that all your the impact to your cardholders is minimized, as well as helping you maximize the benefit of lowering your overall interchange cost. Okay, so doing those things is very important, but we always keep the customer in mind. So into some of the other things that we've done, just at a high level, authorizations on AVS settings within NetSuite. You can accept, hold, or void an authorization. We do this for a couple different reasons. So if you may accept a transaction, so some of our clients may never, if no address or zip code matches, they will always void the authorization. But if it's a situation where they wanted to put it on hold and have it reviewed manually internally and have somebody release it in NetSuite, we do have that capability. But the reason we've done this is twofold. One, if we're never going to complete a transaction that has no address or zip match, it's best to void it so you don't have the cardholder call you and say you still have a hold on my card. So this is a mechanism to let the card issuing bank know, hey, it's time to just release that authorization. The transaction's not going to go through. We're going to accept either another form of payment, or they'll have to run it again with the actual correct address, correct zip. So again, these are things and features we've done, within NetSuite that really help make the final impact excellent for our clients and customers. On to one of the last things that I think we love to stress is automating reconciliation. So if you see here, the ability to automate reconciliation is extremely important, and I'll explain why. You have a batch amount. Let's say it's $35,446.46 coming into NetSuite. The person doing the reconciliation on that transaction would have to literally check every single one of these boxes that makes up the batch. So the bank deposit comes in, $35,446.46, and they would have to go, okay, what is in that batch that hit the bank so I can do my bank deposit within NetSuite. So Solupay has automated this capability in NetSuite. So now as you go in here, you can make those bank deposits. And so your folks in AR not only thrilled about the e-invoice to cash or e-statement to cash capability, where it's saving them time and energy and times money, but also they're saving a tremendous amount of time when it comes to deposits, as opposed to going in here and checking their bank deposits in NetSuite. So again, these are the things that we feel are constantly, going to help everybody move the needle at the end of the day within NetSuite. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shane and NewGen, and really just open it up to questions to everybody. But one thing before I do that, just let you know, we absolutely want a ton of questions. We're available to do private demos that steer this in a direction that's specific to your company, because again, you saw that we went all over the map from EMV payments to subscription billing, invoice payments. So we're all over the map here. Would love to talk to you guys about what is specific to your organization, where you guys need help, and also if you need some customization, because NewGen and Solupay are here and would love to assist.
Thanks, Joe, for the great presentation, like always. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put those on now. I see that we have one that I believe just came in. Let's see here. No questions typed so far. So Joe did that good of a presentation and no one has any questions? That's great.
That sounds fishy, Shane.
It does, right? Yeah, again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to type that in. If you want to take those offline, we understand that as well. We're here to answer any questions you have. Feel free to reach out to us. Here's our first question, Joe.
Okay. Usually it takes a while to get them started.
Yeah.
What I
Can
found.
you explain the token email button?
Yeah, the token email. So you have the ability out of NetSuite or with Solupay to email a link where somebody can enter their card information and have it tokenized within NetSuite. So it updates that transaction in NetSuite. So we have a lot of folks that are using that capability today. Is there, I don't know if this is just email questions, Shane, but my question to that individual is, you know, really what are they looking to do to leverage
Sure.
email token? It sounds like they have a special need. I can talk at a high level how different people use it if they don't have a specific question, but most people are wondering, okay, how do I leverage that? You know, let's say you have a token that's on file and you don't want to keep going out to your customer base and again, emailing them, calling them, I need your new credit card information. This is just another way for you to send them a token, update their card information on file, and then next time you're ready to bill it, you bill it. So especially those guys that are doing subscription billing where account updater isn't working, you know, across the board, because again, all the card issuing banks, I didn't really stress this, do not support account updater. So there's probably 25% that don't. It's you know, becoming lower and lower every year, but that's another way for somebody to send that token out via email out of NetSuite and have it updated. So that would be the preferred, you know, payment method on file for that customer.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. Next question.
No problem.
What is the actual cost per transaction?
So that's a great question. So if you go back, you know, you saw the interchange. What we do very well here is we have an online that we've developed actually. So we take one of your merchant statements, we analyze it. There's literally 1,400 different interchange categories. So you have corporate cards, rewards cards, purchasing cards, debit, credit, you know, all over the map. So what we do is have an analyst here run the numbers on our side to deliver your cost structure with Solupay. I will tell you, I have yet to see us cost somebody really more in fees. Okay, so typically by managing interchange, doing some of the things that I talked about earlier, like, you know, sending over level 3 on corporate cards, or, you know, managing the age of authorization on a Visa transaction, you know, lowering that by 0.5%, you know, the per transaction cost becomes more and more relevant. Where we're really saving you money is how are we lowering your cost on interchange? Because the idea being, we're taking money out of the card issuing banks' pockets and putting it back into the merchants. And really, that's where the lion's share of the revenue is sitting, or fees. So the more we can manage that interchange down, the more successful everybody's going to win with a lower cost structure, including Solupay. Yep.
Perfect. Next one. Yeah, they're coming in now. How do we see if we have access to the list of open invoices that customers can pick and choose what they want to pay?
So customers, when an invoice statement is generated, their customer base will be the ones that will, you know, really select which ones they want to pick and choose and pay. So what we can do is set up a time to really walk that through with that individual. So Morgan is with me today. So Morgan, you know, I don't know if Shane, we have these questions, you know, do we know
we'll send them all
questions
to
are
you.
coming in from? Okay, so if we know the specific user, I think that's one where, but it's really quite simple. It's a statement, you know, which is basically the customer statement. We email it out, so we're basically extracting all that data out of NetSuite, you know, in an invoice statement format, and then they pick and choose.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Can you
No problem.
speak more to using deposits on quotes?
So deposits on quotes. So I believe we've done this in the past. So we have, just so you guys know, over 1,000 merchant IDs out there now, which represents tons of customers. So I think we've had that use case in the past where there is a deposit on a quote, and then the remainder obviously is paid at the point of cash sale. But again, I think that's a good use case for us to understand what are they trying to accomplish, Shane,
Sure.
and make sure that they're getting what they're expecting, because that's the number one thing. And or a lot of our ideas have been, really triggered from, customers going, hey, that's kind of cool that you have, e-invoice to cash, but what about e-quote? You know what I mean? So that's how all this stuff has really evolved.
Okay, perfect. One last question that I see. How does the no chargeback guarantee work?
So we have a couple, different ways to do this. So we have a company called Signified that, as well as Cardinal Commerce. So no chargebacks, depending on which solution we're using, there's a cost associated with it. One's more of a guarantee or insurance, okay, against chargeback. And another is more of a mechanism where there's more authentication being done with the cardholder at the time of the payment. So the Cardinal Commerce solution really is authenticating the cardholder itself, okay, at the point of checkout. And it's got to be an e-commerce transaction. So, and keep in mind, an e-invoice or an e-quote transaction is still considered e-com, okay? So it's got to be a web-based transaction. It could be Suite Commerce, advanced, or it could be the e-invoice or e-statement or e-quote. But those are the areas where you're going to, receive the benefit. As long as that transaction is authenticated, you're going to see a shift, actually. And usually I go over this, but I jumped around a little bit, but usually there's a shift in liability. So these are the issuing banks. So we can set this up where we don't want friction at checkout. So if we don't want any friction at checkout, almost, 77% of the time, we're going to, approve that transaction automatically without prompting for like a password that's on file with the issuing bank, for instance. But 3D Secure is very, very popular, Shane, in Europe today, and a requirement. And now they're going to, further enhance it with biometrics in the future and that kind of thing. But there's a couple different ways to mitigate risk. So what we like to do is look at, what does your chargeback picture look like today, okay? And what are the tools that are best used to mitigate those chargebacks? And again, when you do that, you got to think about cardholder friction, and I don't want any false positives where you're declining actually good customers, so it's more of an art form to work with you, but we'd be happy to do that, and we're very good at it.
Okay, I have a few more. When you say void a NetSuite, do you mean you can void a prior authorization or an actual credit card transaction that was processed in error on the same day?
We can do both. So we can void a prior authorization. The important thing to note is most of the banks will accept our request to void that prior auth, okay? There may be some cases where not all the issuing banks will accept that void. But again, we did have that request to add the ability to void prior authorizations, and we do support it in NetSuite without killing the sales order. So that's also a nice feature. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Next one is, how do we schedule a private demo? We'll reach out to you directly, and we can set up a time when we can do an individualized demo. And then
Absolutely.
Next question, what is the typical initial cost and time frame for getting the solution set up to get the Solupay solution set up?
The crazy part is actually most of the time it takes is, typically we do, Shane, like this half-hour demo, a quick Q&A, because I think that's always important, right? Even oftentimes we do have customers that just say, I just want to sign up right away. But I like our team to really understand what people are trying to accomplish within NetSuite from a payments perspective to make sure everybody's aligned. Once they do that, there's an application process, and at most it'll take 5 to 7 days once they get us all the information at most. Sometimes we have people that want to rush things through, and we get it done in a few days, and then we can rush a setup. But I think rushing for the sake of rushing is silly. But we have the ability to do it rather quickly if folks need it, especially they learn about Solupay, at the last minute and they're going live, next Monday. Trust me, we're going to try to make it happen. So, but I would say give yourself, anywhere from, depending on if you want customization, okay, so that's going to change things, but I'd say anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay, perfect. And the second part of that was more for us. Does NewGen do all the work within NetSuite to get it set up? Now, the majority of work is done by Solupay. So, but yeah, if there's anything that we need to do on the NetSuite side, we'll work hand in hand with Joe and his team.
Correct. I think, and again, just to stress the relationship with NewGen, really having an extremely competent partner like NewGen is the way to yield and get the most out of, NetSuite when it comes to trying to make things more efficient, because not everything is really handled completely when you're trying to perform a transaction. The credit card transaction itself, yes, it's Solupay, but there's other things that may need to be addressed at the same time, and having us being able to work closely together really makes it much easier, much quicker, and gets the job done much faster, which obviously always lowers costs. With that being said, I will say this, 99% of the time, Solupay does not charge an implementation fee outside of e-invoice to cash, e-statement to cash. So there is a small expense to get everybody set up for those solutions. But outside of that, unless there's customization involved, that doesn't make sense to enhance the bundle. But again, it's minimal.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, thanks again, all the attendees, for their questions. Great questions that you posed for us. And then what we'll do is we will reach out individually to each one that attended to make sure that we answered all your questions. If you need, have other questions answered as well, we'll be happy to do that. The people that ask for individualized demos, we'll go ahead and get those scheduled. So again, don't feel, anytime you have any questions on anything in Solupay, please shoot those over to myself, and I'll make sure that Joe and his team will get those addressed. So again, with no additional questions here, I want to thank you all for your time today. Really appreciate it, and look forward to talking with you more in the future. And again, Joe, thanks as always to you and your team. Great job as always, and we will talk soon.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for the invite. Take care. Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.